Ciao guys and welcome back, it's your friend Luca, and in today's video I'm gonna give you 5 useful tips to improve the image quality of your videos filmed with your Lumix S camera. The tip number 1 is about the recording quality. If you're not able to record externally to an external recorder like the Atomos Ninja 5 or the Blackmagic Video Assist, I highly suggest you to stick with the MOV container and record in 4K 10-bit 422 instead of 420. The main reason is that the 422 codec is extremely robust and you can really push to the limit that dynamic range without having too much problems with the color noise. While with the 420 codec, once you start to lift a little bit the shadows, you will probably notice a lot of macro blotching going on in the skin tones of the talent you're gonna film. So when possible, I highly suggest you to film in 422 instead of 420. And in case you need some small amount of slow motion, you can always film at 4K 30p and apply a 20% slow motion, like I showed in a previous tutorial I shared in this channel. Tip number 2. Reduce the amount of rolling shutter in your videos when you film with the Lumix S cameras. Our cameras have a pretty strong and visible rolling shutter when you film with the full region of the sensor. This artifact is mostly visible when you film action or moving objects, or if you're filming handheld. The best way to reduce this artifact is to film in Super 35 crop. In this way, the sensor is gonna scan the images way faster, and you're gonna have an overall better looking image thanks to the better motion. In my case, if I have to choose between an obliterated background or a video with good motion, I would always choose a video with good motion because it will look more professional and filmed with a serious camera. Tip number 3, that in my opinion is the most important one, and that's use vintage lenses over modern lenses. There is a good reason of why in this channel I talk a lot about vintage lenses, and they're all simply spectacular. If you don't know much about vintage lenses, let me recap shortly why they are so great. The overall rendering of the images are more organic compared to the modern lenses that have a more digital look. On the second place, vintage lenses have little imperfections that they can make more interesting and appealing the footage you're gonna film with, while modern lenses are a little bit boring and sterile. And the third place, vintage lenses are totally manual, so you don't have to deal with autofocus settings, and the focus pool are gonna have a better and more filmic look. And I know you're getting scared because we are getting there, and it's about don't use autofocus. So yes guys, for the tip number 4, you have to let go your autofocus lenses with the Lumix S cameras. It's not really about the bad performances of the autofocus, because even if you set the camera perfectly, there are always some micro pulsation going on in your videos, and you can actually notice it more if you use the f1.8 lenses, because those lenses have sort of bad longitudinal chromatic aberrations where you can see the shift between magenta and green in the plane of focus, so it is really noticeable and distracting. But the main problem is that when you use your Lumix lenses in manual focus, you will have little steps when you move your focus point from point A to point B. Even if you set the focus ring to 270 degrees or 320, 360, you can still see those little steps caused by the internal linear motor of the lenses. The last tip for today's video is to try to avoid variable ND filters. There are occasions where variable ND filters are really necessary. For example, if you're working as a solo operator during a wedding, you don't have time to swap filters, a variable ND filter can really save your life. But when you have the time to swap your fixed ND filters, just do it, because the image quality is gonna be much better. The problem of variable ND filters is not much about the vignetting or the color shift, but is about the polarization. Once you start to turn that ring of the variable ND filter, you're gonna increase or decrease the saturation and the reflection and the skins of the talent, and that can be really problematic to fix in post. In my case, I absolutely love what I get thanks to the Nisi R&D 8 and 64, that I can always stack them together, but I can also play with the dual ISO of the camera, so I don't really feel the need to use variable ND filters when I'm filming events. But that's about experience, so once you start to play with a fixed ND64 and you will use the dual ISO system of your Lumix S camera, you will understand that you don't really need variable ND filters with this camera. Anyway, I hope that this video was helpful. If you have any question, please write it down in the comment area below. And if you can support this video, please give it a like and consider to subscribe to the channel to see more videos about Lumix S cameras and vintage lenses. So this is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Ciao!